And I mean, a lot of people have been sold on the idea that you need to build your audience first and kind of give, and one day they'll buy. And I've seen people like literally spend years building their audience without monetizing in any way.
So there you have it. Words from the content marketing master himself. If you're a coach, entrepreneur, business owner, content creator, and you have either a podcast pumping out content there, but aren't sure if you're doing it right, you're definitely going to want to check this episode out. Tyler Basu shares with us his story today about his content creation journey and how he's mastered the art of creating content that actually sells and makes money. So if you're interested in learning more, make sure you check this episode out. But first, let's start that intro. Tyler Basu, welcome to the show. Connect the Dots. How are we doing today, my friend?
Good, man. Thanks for having me here. It's a pleasure.
Wonderful, wonderful. So today, for those of you who are tuning in, we're going to talk about content marketing and how to get it to actually attract people to want to read your stuff and make impact. So I'm going to start off with just introducing Tyler, and then we'll jump into the questions. Is that okay with you, Tyler?
Sounds good, man. It's your show. Do it whatever you want to do.
Awesome. So Tyler Basu is a content marketing strategist, folks. He specializes in helping 6- and 7-figure businesses create and promote content that drives quality traffic and leads online. He's a co-founder of Influencer Studio, which is a content marketing agency here in, I believe, BC, Canada, right?
Yes, sir.
Perfect. And he's been featured in publishings like Entrepreneur, Founder, Influencive, Funnel Magazine, and Conscious Millionaire. So without further ado, Tyler, welcome to the show, and let's jump right in.
Sounds good. Thanks for having me. I'm looking forward to it.
Awesome. So tell us, Tyler, a bit about yourself and how you got started in this whole content marketing game.
For me, it started as a hobby. I'm actually come from a sales background. So like shortly after high school, I jumped into network marketing, then direct sales, then real estate, all sales oriented kind of roles. And I started creating content as a hobby at first. This would have been back in like 2012, 2013. Started blogging, started my first podcast, and just started publishing articles and publishing interviews online. Did that for a few years on the side while I still worked in real estate. And then in 2015, right before my first kid was born, my son Samuel, I decided that I didn't want to spend all my weekends and holidays doing open houses and trying to get people to buy townhomes and condos and stuff. And by that point, I had created enough content that I was decent enough at it. And so my plan was to leave real estate and just start seeing if I could help other businesses with their content. And that led to becoming a content manager for a startup in 2016. Spent about 3 years there, learned how to bring in lots of traffic, lots of leads, lots of customers without relying on salespeople and without relying on ads, just all organic from content. And then it was after leaving that job that I started the agency with a partner that now we do this stuff as a service for other businesses.
Nice. Thank you for that. So really, how to create content that grows your business, the juice, the secret. So what is the secret sauce? Like, I myself am creating podcasts. I know many others who are creating stuff that will hopefully help bring value to the people that view or read, but it doesn't always work out in the way that it brings leads or interest, really. So what's the secret? How do we create content that really grows your business?
Yeah, that's a good question. And I learned this the hard way for sure, because I spent probably 3 years just building an audience and getting attention online with content. When I was working in real estate and I was putting out podcast interviews every week, new articles every week, couple of ebooks on Amazon, I never like got clients from doing that. It was just like I got attention, but I didn't get clients, right? And the main reason for that is that I didn't have a product or service to sell to that audience in the first place. I didn't have a sales process that was online that would take somebody who I just gotten their attention and guide them all the way through to becoming a buyer for something. I didn't have any of that. You might call that a marketing funnel or a sales funnel. Didn't have that. And I think about a year or two into creating content, I finally figured out I was supposed to be building an email list. So I started adding to people to my email list. But again, there was really nothing to sell them, other than, a couple of ebooks on Amazon worth a few bucks, right? So I never really made much of an income at that stage. And then it was when I started working for that company called Thinkific, and they said, listen, our goal is to get people to use our software. Like, that's the goal here. Can you create content that brings in customers that are going to sign up for our software? So that was the objective, free trial, right? And that's the beginning of the sales process for that company. So my job was to create the content that got people all the way to free trial. And at the kind of top of the funnel, you might call it, when your goal is to generate awareness, that's when things like social media or blog posts or podcasts or videos on YouTube, all those things are great for audience growth and getting attention. But you got to separate the people that are just kind of casually consuming your content and that are a part of your audience, from the people that actually have some intent to learn about your products and services. And that's where you want to extract leads from the audience. And there's different types of content that do a good job of pulling leads out of an audience. So I think, going back to your original question of like, what's the secret? If it is a secret, it's that different types of content serve different goals. And if your goal is generate attention, then there's certain content that's great for that. But if your goal is to generate leads, okay, there's certain content that works good for that. And if your goal is to generate a customer or a buyer, there's certain types of content that are much more sales oriented. And so it took me, several years of working through those stages of the funnel, the top of the funnel, the middle of the funnel, the bottom of the funnel, and to figure out what type of content belonged in which stage of that funnel. And it wasn't until I had all three types of content for one particular business, for one particular offer in place, before I could connect the dots between growing an audience, generating leads, and generating sales. There had to be that path of the right types of content for them to consume.
Right. So what really resonates with me is having a clear either service or product before you even start doing anything. Am I hitting that home?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, yeah.
Right.
Well, unless your strategy is, I'm going to build an audience and generate leads and then introduce them to somebody else's product or service, then now you're kind of in the affiliate marketing world. But if your goal is to grow your own business and sell your own products and services, I would start there. Like, start by figuring out who's the customer that you want, who's the ideal client or ideal buyer for whatever it is that you've got. Validate the fact that they would pay you for what you have, validate your offer, develop your sales process. And then, so once you've got that down, then you prioritize, I'm going to go get some leads. I'm going to go get into conversation with some potential buyers. And once you got that process down, then you go create the content to build your audience. I did it backwards, 5+ years ago. I built my audience first before there was a business model or a sales funnel of any kind. Nuts. So surprise, surprise, I got attention, but I didn't get money in the bank. Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally makes sense. And I think that's something that's a lot of coaches and entrepreneurs who are part of this audience are struggling with, right? They want to create this content. They're doing it out of passion, but it's not going to bring them money per se, right? And
Yeah,
so,
and I mean, a lot of people have been sold on the idea that you need to build your audience first and kind of give, and one day they'll buy. And I've seen people like literally spend years building their audience without monetizing in any way. And I think it gets to a point where you risk just training your audience that you don't even have stuff for sale, and you're just somebody that puts out free content all the time, and you don't have a real business.
that's a,
So you run the risk of training people not to buy from you. Uh, I would do the opposite approach. And as soon as you have an offer, product, service, whatever the case is, you've got something, just go talk to people one-on-one. Like, you don't need to get fancy with a whole content marketing or launch a podcast or start a YouTube channel or whatever. Go talk to people one-on-one, see if you can get some people to buy your thing. And then once they do, now you've got some money in the bank. Use that money to pay for your content creation and your marketing.
yeah, no, thank you for that. And I think just to put things into kind of a clear perspective, okay,
Mhm.
do you have some sort of process that you share with your clients? You know, we got to do this first. Step one, step two, and step three, just to get a little bit clear for the audience, because there's a lot of great stuff, but I would hate for the audience to leave with, okay, now what?
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, for sure. There's no one size fits all content strategy or inbound strategy or just marketing strategy in general for every entrepreneur. So there is absolutely a framework. There's an order that I tackle things in. The first thing is identifying, based on what it is that you're selling, who is the ideal buyer for you. Is it a certain age group? Is it a certain demographics? Is it a certain industry? Is it somebody with a certain problem? Somebody with a certain job title? Like, you get really, really clear on who you think is most likely to buy your thing, and like describe them in detail, like uh, all that stuff. What is their income? What is what is their job? What is their industry? Where do they live? What are they trying to accomplish? What's their goal? What's stopping them? What's the challenge? What's the fear? What's the frustration? All that stuff. Dig into it. I have a whole worksheet on like developing a profile for somebody's ideal client, and then once you dig into that, then you ask yourself, where can I get their attention? Like, what platforms do they actually spend their time on? I mean, if they're not on TikTok, you don't need to go on TikTok. You know what I mean? So I would ask yourself, where can I get their attention? Are these people listening to podcasts? Are they in Facebook groups? Are they on Instagram? And pick like one primary platform to focus on before you spread yourself so thin. Pick one primary platform that you're going to go and get their attention online, and then pick the type of content that you're most prepared to create. If you're not confident on video and you're terrified of video, maybe don't do video. But if you're good at talking, maybe you can do a podcast. If you like writing, you can write articles. Um, it's a big enough world that if you just start by focusing on one type of content, you can build your audience that way. And then you can add repurposing and other types of content later on. But you just got to start with one very clear target audience, one primary platform that you want to reach them on, and one primary type of content that you feel comfortable creating based on your skills and your resources that you have available. I would start there, and answering those three questions would give you a good starting point before you do any of this content marketing stuff.
Nice. Thank you for that. And so once you've gotten to that point, okay, you're going to the journey of content creation here. And you're kind of, for those who start off, they got to realize that it's not always going to be their best foot forward. They'll try, but
Hmm.
the stuff that they produce at the beginning may not be great. And that's okay. Right.
Yep.
So once you get to that point of getting into your groove of creating content, I would love to touch on the distribution. Like, how do we get your word out there?
Hmm.
And how does that lead up to, I guess, leads and conversions?
Yeah, so let's you touched on two topics here, so I'll try to unpack both of them. The first was getting over that perfectionism. Yeah, if you're the first time you create content, it might suck, and that's okay. Uh, I I wouldn't let perfectionism stop you, because the only way that you're ever going to get better is through practice and through repetition and through consistency and through learning from feedback. Like, if you don't put anything out there, then you don't get any feedback. So there's no feedback loop that's making you better. You're just in your own head all the time. And I've thought, that I've created stuff that I thought was great that nobody cared about. And I've created stuff that I thought was going to suck and somebody liked it. So I'm proven wrong like all the time. Um, and so don't let that's the first part is, don't be a perfectionist, because there really is no such thing. And you're not going to get better at creating content unless you put some content out there. And then and let's say you put out every week couple of posts or couple of articles or couple podcasts, whatever. A year will go by and you'll actually get to look back on some data of what were your most popular pieces of content, what were the topics that resonated the most, what got the most engagement, what didn't get much engagement. You're never going to get that data unless you get started and start producing. So that's the first piece. The second piece is, as far as promotion, is realizing that because almost everyone creates content now, just creating doesn't really give you a whole lot of an advantage. YouTube's been around for a long time now. Podcasts have been around for a long time. Blogs have been around for a long time. So you don't really have a leg up on anybody just by, starting your YouTube channel or starting your podcast. It's like, welcome to the club. There's thousands of people probably just in your industry or your niche that also have a YouTube channel or a podcast or whatever. So there is competition. And you can't just hit publish and expect that people are going to find it. You do have to get intentional and proactive about promoting whatever it is that you put out there. And a lot of content creators will avoid spending money because they think, I've got time, I got more time, but I don't have a lot of money right now. So I'm just going to try to grow organically, and I'm going to trade my time to promote stuff. I'm going to, my latest article, I'm going to personally go and, share it on social, and maybe share it in some Facebook groups, maybe email some people directly and ask them to check it out, and they're trading all this time to go and get some views on their content. And then in the beginning, it's a really bad return on investment because you put in a lot of effort and you don't get a whole lot of traction back, right? So it feels like a lousy deal. To speed up the feedback loop, like to get more people to see your stuff, just spend some money promoting the content. Don't rely on the organic growth. Even if you got really, really good at organic growth and search engine optimization, and you got good at making sure that your content was ranking in search results, that's more of a long-term strategy, because when you've got a brand new site or a brand new YouTube channel or a brand new podcast or whatever, the chances of you outranking a more established website or platform are pretty slim. So you can do the things like pick a keyword for your headline and optimize it so that when somebody's searching for that topic, they'll find your stuff. But you can't control when you're going to show up in search results. It could be 6 months from now. It could be 12 months from now. So you're not going to see an instant payoff. So that's the organic stuff. I'm a believer in it. When I worked for Thinkific, I didn't get an ad budget to promote the content. It was all organic growth. I relied on SEO a lot. Today, I have dozens of my articles on the first page of Google for their keywords, but that didn't happen overnight. Some of those articles, it took like a year before they showed up on that first page of Google. So do the organic stuff if you have time for it, but don't count on it 100%. To hedge against hedge your risk and speed up the growth of your audience, spend some money to promote your content. And again, pick the platform you think you can reach your audience on. If you know they're on Facebook, go and turn your content into ads. Publish promote your latest article, promote your latest podcast episode, target your target audience. Like, promote the content to that specific country or city that they live in, the age groups, the demographics, what they're interested in. Like, you can set all that stuff up in Facebook, and you can spend money on other platforms too. You can spend money on YouTube. You can spend it on Twitter. You can spend it on LinkedIn. Again, it all goes back to like, where can you get the attention of your target market? And then the cool thing about spending money to promote content is you get instant feedback. Rather than publishing an article and then waiting several months before 1,000 people see it because you're doing that organic stuff. You can spend some money. You can spend a couple $100 today, get those 1,000 views today, and now you have some feedback. Now there's actually people looking at your stuff. You get some comments, and it makes you better as a content creator, and you get traction for your business faster that way.
Nice. Thank you for that. And I want to touch on the whole concept of how much is enough. I mean, you think about it, people who are starting off on their content journey, they may or may not have a budget. Hopefully they do, right? But say someone's bootstrapping and trying to grow organically, and they only have maybe $200 or $300. Is that enough? Is it even worth it? What if $50? Is that enough?
If your marketing budget is in the hundreds of dollars, you don't need to commit to like a life sentence of producing content. What you need to do is create a couple of key pieces of content, like that answer the most frequently asked questions that a potential client might ask you, and just something that shows proof that you have the ability to help them. So if you've got a certain skill set, just go publish a case study on like something that you've done, a project you worked on. Add some social proof to your website or to your personal profiles on social media, whatever the case is. I wouldn't commit to this life sentence of creating content. I would just create a couple of pieces of content that would make your selling easier, so that when you're like in conversation with somebody, you can say, hey, actually, I have this free guide, or I have this case study that shows what I can do. And, here's the link. Feel free to check it out. Let me know if you have any questions. And then just start there. Start with the low hanging fruit of pieces of content that would make selling easier for you. And then focus on selling. You got to be a salesperson before you can be a marketer. Because even if you got good at marketing now, but you didn't have the sales thing down, then what's the point? Why are you generating attention for your business when you can't convert that attention into a buyer? So I would like, if your budget is really a few $100, you have to go get some clients and you got to sell some stuff. So just, take 20 calls, make 20 offers, and then come back and then document all of the objections that you heard on those calls, all the questions you were asked on those calls. Do you think your price point was right? Was it too high? Was it too low? Did too many people reject you? Did too many people say, yeah, this is a no brainer? And then you got to really you can get all of that golden feedback just by having conversations with people in your market. And then that'll make you more prepared for creating content, and you'll have some money in the bank from the sales that you generated from having those conversations as well. So I would say start there, and then don't even think about marketing until you can devote probably $1,000 or $2,000 at least. Otherwise, like what's the point? Like, somebody else is going to outspend you, and like you're going to really struggle to create attention for your business when you're on like a shoestring budget for doing that. Because even having a podcast, like, there's costs involved in editing and publishing and promoting and repurposing and graphic design and all that stuff. Same thing for YouTube, same thing for a blog. Like, for you to do any of these things properly, there is a bit of a cost involved. So I wouldn't even think about them until you have some revenue from some buyers first.
Oh, that is such an amazing tip. So you heard it, folks. Make sure you get your sales down, start making some money, and then maybe it would be then time to start investing in your
And,
marketing.
and I drink my own Kool-Aid, man. Like, I'll share a story with you. When I left my job, it was beginning of 2019, to focus on building out this content marketing agency, right? And so you would assume that somebody starting a content marketing agency, the first thing that they would do is start creating content to promote their agency, right? Nope, not what I did. As much as I wanted to, I love creating content. I've been doing it for years, and I really, really wanted to. I focused on our sales process first. And it took me about 6 months and 30, 40 sales calls just to get really clear on who an ideal client was, what kind of criteria they had to have in place for me to be able to help them. I changed my proposal process and my pricing on our services like 10 or more times. And it was just constant revisions to the sales process. Got my first few clients off of that hustle and off of that word of mouth and referrals, and just using my personal social media to start conversations with people and get people on my calendar, right? That was my focus each week, was let's just get some people on my calendar that I can talk to. And then so that was like a 6-month process. But going through that, we got our first few clients, brought in, got ourselves up to close to like somewhere between 5 and 10 grand a month revenue. And that's when I started creating content for generating leads. Because now that I knew I had my sales process, okay, the next thing I need is some leads. So I spent months like 6 to 12 developing some free resources, some downloadable resources, some worksheets, some webinars, some free trainings, things like that. Created a Facebook group. Just started putting out that content that would get somebody's contact info and like start building up our email list. And that was month like 6 to 12. And then at the end of year one, we're collecting over five figures a month revenue. We're working with like a dozen clients at any given time. There's a real business now. Now we prioritize creating content. And so this year, which is our second year in business, now we have a podcast. Now we're starting to run our own ads. Like, I get to drink my own Kool-Aid this year, but I didn't do it on day one because I just would have been burning through my own resources to get it to generate attention before I even validated my offers and my pricing and my sales process and all that stuff. So start closest to the money. Start closest to, if you're an entrepreneur and your goal is build a business, you got to start closest to the money. And then when it's time to add more attention, that's when you use some of the money that you already have from your customers to pay for your own marketing and generating more attention for your business.
That is fantastic. Thank you for sharing that story. I think that'll resonate really well. It did with me, on how to get started, what to actually expect in terms of return, and how to get going on this journey of building your business, even using content marketing as part of that.
Hmm.
Um, and so I would love to know also, speaking about teams, now we have this whole concept of solopreneurs,
Yeah.
and basically one man shows who can do everything, the graphics design, the YouTube editing, all that stuff. In your opinion, after working with so many entrepreneurs, do you feel that it's necessary to hire out? And if so, how do you do that?
I think people need to differentiate between freelancer and entrepreneur. And I'm not saying that one is better than the other, but they are very, very different roles. If you truly want, if you truly want to be an entrepreneur, um, then that means you're the person that uh, creates systems and processes and builds a business that doesn't rely on just you. If you're a freelancer and you just want to get paid for your skill set, that's fine. You might never ever have to hire a team member. You might just love copywriting or love graphic design or love video editing, but instead of working for somebody else, you decide you want to have a handful of clients that you provide that service to. Nothing wrong with that. I've seen, there's a lot of stats on that's the direction the world is going in. It's like there's this gig economy where a huge percentage of the workforce is made up of freelancers now, instead of employees that work for one company. Uh, so you have to decide which one you want to be, and based on your lifestyle goals, your values, what you're more excited about actually being. And if you just want to hone your skill set, master your skill set, it's one thing that you're really, really good at and you want to sell that as a service, okay, that's awesome. You be a freelancer, that's cool. But if you want to build businesses, and maybe more than one in your lifetime, maybe every few years you're building a new one, or you're starting something and selling it, or whatever, then you go down the entrepreneur path. And the entrepreneur path, you need that skill set that becomes whatever your product or service is. You have to master that. Uh, and then in addition to that, you got to start tacking on the other skill sets of overseeing sales, overseeing marketing, overseeing team building and recruiting, overseeing finance and operations. Like for every department of a business, you need to have some skills and some information, because you're going to be the one that's helping to build all those departments and finding people and putting them in the right roles and building out the team, so that there's a business that doesn't just depend on you and ultimately can grow even without your day-to-day involvement. I think that's the goal, that every entrepreneur has, is to build something that can grow bigger than just them. Does that answer the question?
Totally. That was beautifully said. And to realize that there's a difference, a distinction between
Mhm.
freelancer and entrepreneurs is a really, really important point that I'm glad you brought up. Okay. Um, so thank you for all that. And I want to jump to the next section of our podcast here, which is called rapid fire. Now, rapid fire is where I'm going to be asking you, giving you a sentence, and I'll get you to finish the sentence off with the first thing that comes to mind. Is that okay with you?
Sure, sounds good.
Awesome.
Totally
Here we
fine.
go. So, question number one. The number one biggest challenge that 6 and 7 figure businesses or entrepreneurs face are today?
I'm gonna say operations. Building out their. Do you want me to expand on that, or are you just looking for one word?
Go for it.
Yeah, if you made it to 6 figures, you probably got there through your own hustle. But to go from 6 to 7, it's probably going to take more than just you. You're probably going to need a team, even a small one. And so that's when you start building out those different departments of your business to get to 7 figures, and certainly to get to 8 figures. And so if you don't have that skill set of building out those departments and managing people and choosing the right people and putting them in the right roles, that's going to become a big challenge for you. So yeah, and all that I would consider operational type stuff.
Perfect. Thank you. Question number 2. If I could go back in time and restart from scratch, I would ...
Mm, I would tell myself to be more patient. From about 18 to 25, I changed industries like every year or two. And part of it was because I didn't really know what industry I wanted to be in. But the other part was I kept getting impatient and I kept thinking that I was going to succeed faster than I actually did. And so, getting some guidance on picking the industry that's right for you, finding something you're passionate about and really want to become the best at, that sort of thing. But then also committing to sticking to it long enough to actually get good and not quit and start over something new. 1 or 2 years in. Give yourself more time than that to become good at something.
Nice. And actually, I want to add to that. And I think it was you who posted a quote saying, to start a business or to make it grow big, it takes about 10 years, but expect the first 2 years to not get what you want, right? Something along those lines.
Yeah, I think what I said was you can have anything you want in about 10 years, but plan to get none of what you want for at least the first 1 or 2.
Beautifully said. Thank you for that. Question number 3, man. The 3 things each amazing content piece I've created have.
3 things. I think the content that has done the best, it's had like these 3 ingredients. One is that it was helpful to a specific target audience. So it was like relevant and helpful to the person that I wanted that content to be for. The second ingredient was that it was entertaining in some way, like it didn't bore them. They actually consumed it. Okay, so it had to be engaging enough for them to consume the whole thing. And then the third ingredient was that it was like implementable, like they could do something with that information. It wasn't just like, oh nice, yeah, that entertained me, but I can't really use this. It was like it gave them a next step. It gave them something to do. It gave them clarity or a specific action step to take. And the content that had those 3 ingredients got the results.
Nice, thank you. Question number 4, the misconception about content marketing or content creation are?
Yeah, I'm surprised that I don't even know if I should be using the word content marketing. I think I'm actually more of like just an inbound marketing overall, because I still see that the word content marketing is thrown out, implying blogging. And like all the people talking about content marketing, they instantly think of promoting blogs. And we've just come so much further than that. Like there's not, written content is not the only type of content now. We've got so much technology, so much tools. Like we can produce videos, we can produce podcasts, online courses, webinars, like all kinds of cool stuff we can produce now and promote. And it's not all articles. Yeah, I think content marketing should really just be about getting helpful information in any format in front of the people that you want to get the attention of.
Nice, perfect. And the last question is, I know I've become successful when?
I don't think I'll ever get that. I don't think I'll ever be able to answer that question, because I'm like, I don't sit still for too long. Like the moment I have accomplished something, I'm grateful for it. But I don't ever want to stagnate by sitting still and thinking, oh, I've made it now. So I'm always going to be pushing for something new. That's never going to change. So for me, the success is just really about enjoying the journey. It's not a certain destination that I'm trying to get to. Yeah, there's I don't know if you've seen that. There's a documentary on Netflix about the Chicago Bulls and Michael Jordan and all that. And he said something similar, or maybe it was his coach, after them winning one of the championships. I think it was probably Phil Jackson who said this, but he said, you're only successful like in a very brief moment, like in the moment that you did the thing that is considered success. In that exact moment, you're successful. But as soon as that moment's gone, you got to earn it again. You got to, you got to go back to earning whatever the next success is. So we can't sit still for too long.
Totally true. I resonate with that so much. I want to say thank you so much, Tyler, for your time. It was such an amazing session with you. We got so much value. For those of you who are listening, I'm going to put all of Tyler's links in the description below. That's watching on YouTube podcast. Check out the YouTube. That's all. And Tyler, I just want to say thank you for your time.
No problem. This was a lot of fun. And if anyone has any questions or wants to reach out, I'm pretty easy to find. I'm the only guy with this name, so he can find me pretty easily.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Tyler. Have a great one.
All right. Cheers.
Okay, bye. Hey there, thanks for stopping by. Alex here. If you enjoyed this content marketing episode with Tyler Basu and want to support me, please go to coachalexlin.com. There you'll find more podcast episodes, how to join an exclusive Facebook group of amazing storytellers, and a ton of other resources for coaches and entrepreneurs. You'll also be able to learn more about coaching and how to work with me one-on-one. If you gain some value and want to support me on my mission to transforming the lives of 1,000 people, you can either search for Connect the Dots on iTunes and leave a rating, or simply subscribe to my YouTube channel so that you can enjoy, like, and share my videos. So thanks again for listening, and I'll see you in the next episode.